The streets of Los Angeles shimmered under the pale glow of neon lights as night fell on the bustling city. Keanu Reeves, clad in his usual understated attire, a black leather jacket and worn boots, sat at the corner table of a quiet CAF. Known for his humility despite his fame, he found solace in the anonymity of places like this. A steaming cup of coffee sat untouched before him as he stared out the window, lost in thought. Across town, Ariana Grande's night was far less tranquil. She was wrapping up rehearsals for an upcoming world tour. The pressure of delivering perfection, coupled with months of grueling schedules, had taken a toll on her body. Yet, Ariana, ever the professional, pushed through. But as she walked off stage, her vision blurred, and an overwhelming sense of dizziness overtook her. Moments later, she collapsed. The commotion backstage was instant. Her team surrounded her, shouting her name, but Ariana was unresponsive. An ambulance was called, and the paramedics arrived swiftly, rushing her to a nearby hospital. The diagnosis wasn't good. Ariana was suffering from acute respiratory distress caused by an undiagnosed condition. Her lungs were failing rapidly, and the doctors worked frantically to stabilize her. Meanwhile, Keanu, unaware of the unfolding tragedy, decided to leave the CAF. He had planned to go home and finish reading a book he'd been immersed in, but a strange sensation washed over him as he stepped into the night. It was an inexplicable pull, an instinct he couldn't ignore. It guided him to a hospital several blocks away. Inside the hospital's emergency ward, chaos reigned. Nurses and doctors moved in a frenzy, attending to patients and emergencies. Keanu walked through the entrance, his presence commanding but calm, as if he belonged there. He didn't know why he was there, but he trusted his gut. Then he saw her. A pale figure wheeled past him on a gurney, surrounded by frantic doctors shouting orders. Her face was unmistakable: Ariana Grande. He froze for a moment, unable to reconcile the image of the vibrant performer he'd seen on countless screens with the fragile woman fighting for her life. Without hesitation, he approached the doctors. "Is she okay?" Keanu asked, his voice steady but laced with concern. The doctor looked at him briefly, not recognizing him amidst the urgency. "We're doing everything we can, but it doesn't look good. Her lungs are failing, and we don't have a donor match for an immediate transplant." The weight of those words hit Keanu like a freight train. Something inside him stirred an instinct, a deep-seated need to act. "What if I can help?" he asked. The doctor paused, skeptical. "Are you suggesting you're a donor match? That's nearly impossible without testing." Keanu shook his head. "I don't know about that, but I believe I'm supposed to help her. Let me try." The doctor, desperate and out of options, decided to humor him. A flurry of tests later, the results came back, shocking everyone. Keanu was a perfect match for a highly experimental procedure. It involved using donor stem cells to regenerate damaged lung tissue, a risky and unproven method. Keanu didn't hesitate. "Do it," he said firmly. As the preparations for the procedure began, word spread like wildfire through the hospital that Keanu Reeves was about to risk his health to save Ariana Grande. Staff whispered in awe, unable to believe the selflessness of the man. Keanu, however, remained calm. He had always believed that life was about helping others, no matter the cost. As the surgery commenced, Ariana's condition worsened. Her body was failing, her breath shallow and labored. The doctors worked tirelessly, using Keanu's cells to regenerate her lungs while he lay in a separate room, recovering from the procedure. Hours passed like an eternity. The hospital waited with bated breath, unsure if either of them would emerge unscathed. Finally, just before dawn, the head surgeon stepped out, his face a mixture of exhaustion and relief. "She's stable," he announced. "We did it." Keanu, still groggy from the procedure, smiled faintly when he heard the news. Despite the physical toll, he felt an overwhelming sense of peace. He had done what he was meant to do. When Ariana woke hours later, her eyes fluttered open to the sight of Keanu sitting in a chair by her bedside. Though visibly tired, his presence exuded warmth and reassurance. She managed a faint smile. "Did you save me?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. Keanu leaned forward, his trademark humility shining through. "You saved yourself. I just helped a little." Tears welled in her eyes as the gravity of his sacrifice hit her. "Why would you do this for me?" Keanu thought for a moment before responding. "Because sometimes we're called to do something bigger than ourselves. And when that call comes, you answer." The room fell silent as Ariana processed his words. Though they came from different worlds, in that moment they shared a bond that transcended fame and fortune, a bond forged by compassion and humanity. The hospital room was quiet, save for the soft hum of machines monitoring Ariana Grande's recovery. Keanu Reeves sat beside her bed, exhaustion etched into his face, but overshadowed by the quiet contentment of knowing she was alive. Ariana, still weak but slowly regaining her strength, couldn't take her eyes off the man who had saved her life. "Do you even know what you've done?" she asked, her voice hoarse but steadying. Keanu smiled faintly. "I think you do now. That's what matters." The simplicity of his response moved her. It wasn't a headline for him, nor an act of ego. It was simply who he was, a man who did the right thing when it mattered most. News of the incident had already leaked. By the time Ariana was moved to a private room, the world was ablaze with the story. Paparazzi swarmed the hospital, desperate for a glimpse of the two stars. Social media was flooded with hashtags, "Keanu saves Ariana," "Real-life hero," and "Thank you, Keanu." Fans from around the globe shared messages of gratitude and awe, praising Keanu's courage and selflessness. But Keanu shied away from the limelight. As soon as he was cleared by the doctors, he packed his things, intent on leaving quietly. Ariana, however, wasn't about to let him go that easily. "Wait," she called out, her voice stronger now as he stood by the door. He turned back, his hand on the doorknob. "You can't just disappear." He gave her a soft smile, the kind that seemed to hold all the wisdom in the world. "This isn't my story, Ariana. It's yours. You have a second chance, make it count." Her chest tightened, not from weakness but from emotion. "I can't thank you enough. I owe you my life." Keanu shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. Just keep being you. The world needs that." For a moment, she thought he might actually leave, slipping out of her life as quietly as he'd entered. But then, as if compelled by the same instinct that had brought him to the hospital that night, he added, "If you ever need anything, I'll be there." And with that, he was gone. Weeks passed, and Ariana's health improved drastically. The experimental procedure not only saved her life, but gave her a newfound appreciation for it. She returned to the public eye with a renewed purpose, using her platform to advocate for healthcare innovation and support for those battling life-threatening conditions. In every interview, she mentioned Keanu Reeves. She spoke of his bravery, his selflessness, and the miracle he had given her. Despite his efforts to avoid the spotlight, Keanu became a symbol of hope and kindness, his story resonating far beyond Hollywood. Months later, at one of her concerts, Ariana did something she'd never done before. In the middle of her set, she paused, the crowd falling silent. "I want to dedicate this next song to someone very special," she began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "Someone who taught me that heroes don't always wear capes, they wear leather jackets and drink way too much coffee." The crowd erupted in cheers, many knowing exactly who she was talking about. As the music began, a soft acoustic melody, she sang a new song, one she'd written during her recovery. The lyrics spoke of second chances, of gratitude, and of an unshakable bond forged in the face of death. What Ariana didn't know was that Keanu was there, sitting quietly in the audience, his face partially hidden by a baseball cap. He watched her perform, a small, proud smile on his lips. When the song ended, the audience erupted in applause, but Ariana's eyes scanned the crowd, searching. She didn't see him, but somehow, she felt his presence. And maybe that was enough. Years later, their paths would cross again, in another unexpected way. But for now, their story remained a testament to the power of compassion, the fragility of life, and the enduring strength of humanity. For Keanu Reeves and Ariana Grande, it wasn't about fame or recognition, it was about being there for each other when it mattered most. And that, above all, was what made them heroes in their own right.